Boa tarde pessoal. Meu nome é Edmar Rachioca, eu sou da Media Gear, estou falando aqui diretamente da HiFi, em Belo Horizonte. A ideia nossa nesse projeto é complementar o trabalho que já estava sendo feito com o Edu, com o Nicolas, com as lives da Media Gear. Então a nossa ideia agora é o quê? Fazer um trabalho conjunto com os fornecedores das marcas que nós trabalhamos. O nosso convidado de hoje é o Anders. O Anders é vice-presidente de vendas da Hegel, parceiro nosso há mais de 2, 3 anos. E eu queria que vocês dessem uma boa tarde para o Anders para iniciar esse nosso trabalho. Anders, tá me escutando? Are you hear me? Can you hear me?
Absolutely, I can hear you.
So, can you introduce yourself, please?
What did you say?
Can you introduce yourself to our...
Yes, of course I can. My name is Anders. I am the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Hegel Music System in Norway. I've been in that room that you can see me on the screen many times with Carlos in Belo Horizonte, and I wish I could be there now, but I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Anders, the idea of this event is to try to develop a new concept, presenting the new products that we are working, and then with your support, we could increase our sales. That it's very good numbers today, but I believe that you can be very helpful, like you were in the past. I believe that 1 or 2 years ago that you came to Brazil. Is it all right?
Oh, it must be a year and a half since the last time. But we went around in Brazil, you and I, at least 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, for sure. I missed the flights.
Yes, that too.
Okay, good.
That too.
Anders, your time. You can start to promote our products again.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking a little bit back and forth on exactly what we were going to do, and you can ask me questions as we go along. So don't think about that. What we wanted to talk the most about, I think, is the newest integrated amplifier, or the second newest actually, the H390. Which has become the pretty much by far most popular Hegel amplifier now. I'll tell you a little bit about the story first. In 2017, we were working on a new flagship integrated amplifier. It was called the H590. And for the first time in many, many years, our lead engineers were allowed to work on a project where money was not a big problem, because we're always working on a very, very tight budget to try and get the quality sound we want in a package that anyone or many people can afford. But they were planning on stretching the envelope a little bit on a really reference integrated. So we made the H590. The 590 was, the analog part was mostly the old H360 on steroids. It had much bigger power supply, more expensive components, more expensive transistors and so on. So it was just more and better on the analog side. The analog side cost money. The real invention in this reference H590 was the digital side. So we made a completely new DA converter and a new concept of DA converter for the 590, which was something we called bit perfect. Many DACs or DA converters call themselves bit perfect, while they may not exactly be bit perfect. But bit perfect means that if you play a digital source with whatever sampling frequency, if it's high res, if it's MQA, if it's, CD quality, the DA converter will never change the signal in the process of becoming an analog signal. We first developed that ID for the Mohican CD player, which was a native Redbook CD player. It still is, of course, and it's been a huge success just because it sounds so incredibly good. This new DA converter just sets the reference H390 in a completely different league compared to its little brother, the H360. And then our budget minds were starting to think again. Can we upgrade this H360 with that new DA converter concept from the 590, maybe even introduce a few more small capabilities in the DA converter, but for a much lower price. And that became what is now called the H390. It was launched last fall in August 2019. It won the ISA award, which is not that big in South America because there are no South American magazines in ISA yet. But there are the American, the European, the Australian, the Asian press go together and say, this is the best high performance amplifier, this is the best TV, this is the best telephone, and so on. So it won. It was the fourth time Hegel won in 5 years. But the 390 really was something special. So I thought I would just show you a couple of pictures just to show you first, what kind of connectivity and practical things you have in it. Then I'll show you a little bit from the inside of the amplifier.
Oh.
Unless there are some questions already.
Ok. Carlos.
Hi.
Do you have some questions? Because ele fez uma introdução do produto do 590, falando que foi a origem para o 390, né? Você tem alguma dúvida em relação ao 590, 390 em comparação com algum outro modelo?
Então, qual que é a evolução do 360 para o 390?
Anders,
Basicamente.
he wants the key points that the H390 is much better compared with the H360s.
Yes. The biggest difference is obviously the digital side, which is a different league. It's not, they have nothing in common. The 390 is just so much better. But we also improved the power supplies for the preamplifier. We improved the balanced inputs quite significantly with better balanced inputs. And there are small differences throughout the amplifier. But with an analog design, it's difficult to say that, they have nothing in common. Because, we've made analog amplifiers since the dinosaurs. But it is better. It's more fluid, natural, open, more musical on the analog side. And on the digital side, it's a completely different world. If you have a 360, I would upgrade to a 390, 10 out of 10 times.
Okay, good. Let's start.
Yes. So I will share a screen with some pictures, and I'll have sort of a laser pointer. Laser. So we'll try this. Oops, start sharing. And then wrong picture first. Yes, here we are. So this is the backside of the 390. And as you can see up here, there are two regular unbalanced analog inputs. There is one pair of balanced inputs, the ones I was talking about. The input stage here is balanced, but the volume control and the power amplifier is not true balanced because it's way too expensive for the benefit. Balance is better, but the price you have to pay or the amount of the budget of the amplifier that goes into it does not pay off at this price range. So one of the improvements we've made on the balance inputs is the quality of the operation amplifiers that change it to a single-ended signal inside the amplifier. That is a lot better on the H390. Also, the plugs are really high-quality Neutrik plugs that we use on all our amplifiers, and it's actually a significant investment, these plugs, but they do make a difference also. If we go to the left, it's the line level outputs. There's one fixed line level output and one variable. The fixed one is obviously if you want to connect it to an external headphone amplifier. It could be sort of a recording output if anybody uses that any longer. And the variable for an external power amplifier or subwoofer. There's an extra update in the 390, which still the 390 is the only amplifier to have from Hegel. There's more gain on the variable line output on the 390 compared to the old 360. The reason for that is that Hegel amplifiers have so much gain that some people had problems integrating a subwoofer. You couldn't turn the volume on the subwoofer loud enough. So with the improved gain output on the variable output here, it's much easier to put a subwoofer in the system. On the downside here is a digital board. There's a network input, which is obvious. There's no antenna on a Hegel amplifier because the antennas pull in noise and all kinds of high frequency noise. So it is a wired input. The good thing with a wired input is that it also always works. The network input is used for control. It's used for Apple AirPlay. It's used for UPnP streaming. It's used for Spotify Connect. It is also going to be used for a service called Rune, which some may have heard about. We may be talking a little bit about that at the end. The network input also supports MQA, or tidal masters, as you may have heard about. The 390 is a true MQA decoder, so it does what's called the second unfolding of MQA. And MQA on the 390 works on all the digital inputs. To the left is a USB input, very popular a few years ago when people connected computers. Less popular now, but it's still a very good USB input. And the USB and network inputs does exactly the same things. MQA, higher resolutions, 32-bit, whatever you want. Then there are 3 optical inputs, 1 coaxial input, and another new thing compared to the 360 is a true BNC input. If you have a really quality source with a 75 ohm BNC output, there's now a dedicated 75 ohm BNC input. The last thing I'll talk about back here is the digital output. So any input that comes through these inputs can also go reclocked and digitally out again to an external DA converter or a form of a recorder. There's also a fancy little way if you later want to upgrade with a new external DAC. You can also integrate an external DAC in a loop. Here we call it DAC loop. But I will not dig into this. Then I needed to and half an hour to explain only that. But you can. It's an upgradable DA converter solution. So you can buy a 390 and have it for a very long time. Any questions before we move on, Edgemar?
Carlos, alguma pergunta sobre o painel traseiro, sobre a funcionalidade?
Não, tá tranquilo.
Everything okay?
Yeah, cool. Then we'll look at the inside.
Carlos.
So, this is the inside of an H390. The first thing that many people see is in the center here is what looks like two toroidal transformers. It's not actually two, it's three. And the big one here is the transformer for the power amplifier. So it's a dual mono transformer, so there are separate windings for each channel. And that's the main transformer. But on the back, there are two smaller toroidal transformers that are stacked on top of one another. And one of them is actually used to power the DA converter and the preamplifier. So by completely separating them, or the preamplifier and DAC power supplies, with a separate transformer, you shield it a whole lot better from the power amplifier. We thought about going as far as to offer an upgradable external power supply for those units, but we think that is very old school, and the difference it made to actually physically move the transformers outside of the box was minimal. But having a separate transformer and complete separate power supply for the preamp and DAC makes a whole lot of difference. The third one is actually just there to help the amplifier power up, because the new Hegel amplifiers has a proper standby functionality. So if you switch it off with a remote control, it will be completely switched off and only use about 1.5 watts and run completely cold. And then you can switch it on again by remote control. Or if you open the Spotify Connect application, you can use Spotify to wake the amplifier up. You can use AirPlay to wake the amplifier up. You can use UPnP to wake the amplifier up. So it will start up again by itself. And this third little transformer helps it do so without any things that will distort or reduce sound performance. The output stages on each side, there are 8 bipolar output transistors on each channel with a big capacitor bank right here. That allows this amplifier to put out 250 watts of continuous power into 8 ohms. And it will double pretty much down to 2 ohms. So it's completely stable in 2 ohms, this sound. Then, of course, you have the DA converter back here. The input section is here, and actually the volume circuit is in the back here. So one of the critical things about the Hegel, or the big Hegel amplifiers, is how we transport the signal from here and into here. And some people have said, oh, it looks like a pit of snakes in a Hegel amplifier. It doesn't look beautiful. And I agree, it doesn't look beautiful, but it's the best way. One of the differences between this 390 and our smaller integrated amplifier is actually that they look beautiful and have everything on one nice big circuit board, but that's noisy. This way of moving the signal with actual cables that have very carefully positioned paths where they transport the signal is a lot better for the sound. Makes it a lot less noisy. The final thing on the inside, which you will struggle to see, but it's here, some little blue devices, that is the Hegel sound engine. And the sound engine is our patented amplifier circuit. It's a little computer that sits and it will compare the input signal that comes, well, technically it comes from here, and compare it with the output signal here that goes to the speaker, and it will make corrections to reduce the number of errors and distortions that is created in the output stage of the amplifier. The power amp is where almost all of the distortion happens, the big distortion at least. So in the integrated amplifiers, we have the sound engine on the output stage. On our reference pieces, we also have the sound engine on the input stage and in the preamplifier, even in the CD player and DAC, actually, when I think about it. The output stage uses very high quality bipolar output transistors, while on the input stage, we use a carefully picked and carefully matched single pairs of FET transistors. That means that the input stage of these big Hegel amplifiers have much the same characteristics as a tube amplifier, but with more power and even less distortion. I think we'll leave it at that right now, because let's see. Yeah. Yes, we could get back. That was a lot of monologue about internals of an amplifier, perhaps too much.
Ok. Carlos, você tem alguma dúvida em relação a toda essa explicação que o Anders fez sobre o painel traseiro, sobre como ela é construída internamente? Tem alguma opinião? Tem algum questionamento para o Anders?
Não.
Anders, I believe that
Yeah.
Carlos, that is our biggest sales guy for the Hegel products. He thinks that everything's okay. One question. Quantos amplificadores H390 você já conseguiu comercializar, Carlos?
Foi por uns 4, 5.
Então, so Anders, we ask you your support because of our money devaluation, the prices of the Hegel products become a little bit higher than we expected. For this reason, that the launching of the H390 in Brazil was a little slower than the rest of the world. So I believe that until now, Carlos sold around 5 pieces. I believe that we sold to other dealers around 3 pieces. So probably we're reaching 10 pieces of H390. Can you tell us about how is the success from the H390 in the world today?
It's phenomenal. And had Brazil been a 230 volt country, the waiting list for a 390 from Hegel now would then have been until February next year, in 2021. But luckily, you use 120 volts in most of the country, so we can steal some from our North American stock. But the success of the 390 and Hegel in general has been beyond belief. To be honest, it's been tremendous, and I think what has surprised people the most is just how many H390 we sell. It's of course it's difficult to say, how much of the reason for this success is coronavirus, because we have to admit, with all the misery that we experience with people losing their jobs and people getting sick and all kinds of things, we spend a lot more time at home, and we invest a lot more in things that can make us happy at home. And then it's a very good thing to be in hi-fi. But that's not the whole reason. The 390 has been just a crazy success. Okay. I think it is. Of course, I'm paid. I live and I breathe Hegel, but I really think that the H390 there's nothing that can compete with that in the price range.
Okay.
Tá perguntando qual classe do amplificador. É classe AB, né?
Anders, which class is the H390? AB class with amplifier?
Good question. It's Class AB, but it is still better than Class A in what Class A is good at.
Tem
It's
outros.
a Class A amplifier has steady current on the output stages, on the output transistors, because you have oh, this is strange to do in reverse. Let's see. Okay, so we begin there. You have one transistor that pulls the signal up like this, and then you have another that takes over and pulls it down. Shit, that was the wrong way. And pulls it down. So that's how you create the sine wave. So you have one that pulls up and one that pulls down. And when one is the one that pulls down is taking over for the one that pulls up, both of them have no power on them. And then they change behavior a little bit, and there can be timing issues and other problems. We call that crossover distortion. That's the crossover from the transistor that pulls up to the transistor that pulls down. And Class A has very high bias. There's a lot of current on these transistors at all times, so you reduce the problem of crossover distortion. But the sound engine works more efficiently because the sound engine takes a sample of the signal before. Oh, this is strange. The sound engine takes a sample of the signal before it enters the output stage and a sample after it leaves this output stage. And it compares them. And then it plays the crossover distortion back into the signal in reverse phase. So it cancels out crossover distortion. So it's Class AB, but better than Class A.
Thanks.
It was a much longer answer than I needed to give.
Other question. It's a procedure that we didn't use a lot, but there are some customers asking, what's the best features comparing that you can compare Hegel above other amplifiers of the same level prices?
What the best feature is?
Yes.
The best quality, where I think we are the best. I need to say two, and one of them, the first, is resolution. Because there is so low distortion, you get to hear a lot of details without things being harsh or sharp. But the second one is dynamics, like bass. When you turn the volume up, the bass in the Hegel is not fat and flubby, it's dynamic and rhythmic, and you can play really loud. So resolution and dynamics.
Okay. Other question, Carlos?
Not yet.
Okay. Others. We know that we have a big success with the H390. I hope that we could repeat the same success that we had here in Brazil in the past with the H30. That was a big hit for us. But now I know that Hegel starts to develop new products for the entry-level pricing. I know that you launched now the H95. Why Hegel launched so fast H95 compared with H90 that you had? I think that it was launched 2 years ago, correct? And now we have this new one.
Well, the problem has been that technology, or not technology, but demand for features and some components has been catching up with us. So the H90 is still a really good amplifier, but we pretty much had to make the 95 because we needed to change our streaming platform to a newer one. Otherwise, we would have risked it running out. So when we did that, we could just as well make it better. We gained a lot by streamlining the DA converters. So just by making the same DA converter in the 90 as the 120, for example, you save so much money that you can use the better DAC. So you raise the quality without raising the price because we're making a lot. But the other thing with Hegel is that we usually work in cycles. So first we make an entry-level product, and then the next cycle we start to make a high-end product, and then we start to make a new entry-level product, and then new high-end again. So with that in mind, you can guess where we're going next.
Ok.
We'll have some surprises for you next year.
Oh, good. Tem alguma pergunta, Carlos, sobre o H95? Porque a gente começou a trabalhar há pouco tempo com o H90 e você teve um bom resultado, né?
Fala que o H95 é lançamento. O que ele está lançando de 95, de novidade, que as próximas gerações vão incorporar?
Como assim?
O 95 ele é o último lançamento.
Sim.
O que tem de novidades que pode surgir nos próximos lançamentos à frente?
Anders, we know that Brazil, you are very anxious. So we always want to know what will be the next steps. So Carlos is asking you to explain a little bit for the near future for the brand.
There are quite a few things I cannot tell you. But I can say that we are working much more in the analog domain of development right now. Both. But in the shortest term, what you will see from us will be very analog. We have hired more software engineers at Hegel, who the first one started just a week ago. So there will be more features and more funky, fancy digital things coming, but that's a little bit further on. The first things you will see will be quite analog.
Carlos, tem algum outro ponto? Queira saber?
Tem algum, Eduardo? Fala pouco da integração com o Room.
Anders, let's come back to the point that you mentioned about Room. How is the situation with Hegel today with Room products? Room-ready products?
Yes. Hegel with Room has taken forever, and for that we are quite sorry. We promised Rune when we introduced the 590. We promised that Rune would come in 2019, but it's now a little over a year delayed, and it has to do with how we build new features. We build them very thoroughly, and we don't have a Linux operating system as such in our amplifiers. But Rune is coming. We have been careful about launching news, but Rune is coming. It has now come very far, and I hope we're talking weeks before we're sending it in for certification. We will launch Rune for the H590, 390, 190, and 120. And for the 120 and 190, there will be some resolution limitations, so they will not support MQA, for example, but the other ones will support everything. So I can show you how far we have come in testing. Let's see. Can we show this maybe? This is a little video from our office where we have been testing the switching capability how fast can the amplifier switch between various MQA. This is MQA 192. This is MQA 384 kilohertz. And here you can say that is a full MQA decoder. That is how it will look on the amplifiers as we switch. And I think this video also shows the data stream. Oh yeah, there it's switched to MQA 96. And here is all the data, the information it's getting. So it's working. It's just a few bugs to make it really stable that is left. And then there should be Rune also, and it will obviously come as a completely free update for everybody who has these amplifiers.
And the Rune ready will be used in all integrated amplifiers, or there will be certain integrated amplifiers that will be possible to use?
Well, you can use the Rune integration and update for all H590, all H390, all H190, and all H120. Those are the 4 amplifiers it will come to. And then it can do multi-room with a pair of KEF LS50 wireless 2 or other Rune devices. But it's coming for those 4 integrated amps. And it will be free, and it will be notified. So after we're done with that, I think we'll start working on AirPlay 2 for the same amplifiers as a free update, hoping that will not take equally long.
And just to confirm to Brazilian end users, the idea of be really ready when you be in 1 month, 2 months?
As I said, I hope we're talking weeks. We had originally hoped we would ship it for certification in October. Then it turned out a couple of the bugs we had left took a little bit longer. So it could happen, any day, any week now. And we have a very tight connection with Rune. For being not Rune ready yet, I think we're the company with the tightest connection to Rune. So I think it will come first in line for certification when the time comes.
Okay. Other question, Anders, about Tidal Connect. There'll be a new status for Tidal Connect?
We do not have a status for Tidal Connect. We're still researching Tidal Connect. I wish that, in a perfect world, we would have started that project months ago when we learned about Tidal Connect. But we felt an obligation to the customers of ours that we had promised them Rune. We need to finish that project before we can really start anything else. So I think until we've ended Rune, I do not have a good update on Tidal Connect. It's a lovely feature.
Ok, good. Carlos, tem alguma outra pergunta? Edu? Tudo bem, Anders. One question, Anders. There's one line that we could not start to develop here in Brazil yet. The products are the custom line from Hegel.
Yeah.
This C53, C54, and C55. Can you tell us a little bit more about this line and how it's developing in other countries?
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest and I'll say we do sell quite a lot of them, and 99% of that sale is in the USA. It is a little bit of a USA-centric amplifier because it was developed for the US market because we saw an opening in the US. But the same things apply to the rest of the world, and we suddenly sell. Suddenly we set up a theater in Tokyo with 4 of them stacked in the 19-inch rack. We've set them up in many, many places around the world. But the thing is that 15 years ago, there was there were quite a few high-quality multi-channel power amplifiers. They were probably not Class A because there's too much heat, but they would be Class A, B from various brands, so you can hook up to a high-end theater and enjoy music. But the last few years, 5, 6, 7 years, it has been all digital amplifiers. And Class D digital amplifiers, there's a lot of positive things to say about them. But if you want a theater with power-hungry speakers, or speakers with low impedance, or maybe you just want to build a theater with, Monitor Audio Platinum series, or a big Sonus Faber, or God forbid, a Dynaudio speaker. It doesn't really work with a 7 times 700 watts, 1U tall Class D power amplifier. They are not stable to deliver what that speaker needs. But everybody went for it because that's where the volume of the market is. So we thought, let's go completely the other direction and make a brand new Class AB multi-channel power amp. So what we did with the C5 series, it's the design philosophy of the H390, the reference power amp, scaled down into an H390 size output device. So it's 390 power amplifiers that are designed in the same way as the H30 reference power amps are, but with a lot lower output power. So you can stack them in a rack without heat issues. So they're only 150 watts per channel into 8 ohms, but then there are 300 in 4 ohms, there are 600 in 2 ohms. They can drive pretty much anything. They're designed around KEF blade and big Dynaudios to make certain they can drive those in a theater loud over long periods of time. We use them in Tokyo. They're used on KEF Muon, which I think is almost $200,000 with 6 12-inch woofers in each. Not a problem at all. So if there is really nothing that competes with it. There are 2 applications that people use. One is a quality theater. You have a 3-channel or a 5-channel in a home theater, a high-quality home theater. The other thing is if you have a roof terrace with a pool and great outdoor speakers, you want to have you want to throw a party, this is an amplifier that can play throughout the night, really loud, and give you much more fun than a tiny, weeny Class D amp.
Okay, other question, Anders. We had a very good success with the DAC streamer HD30. A lot of people bought.
Yeah.
And what's the next plan for this line of products? You're planning to launch something new soon?
I don't think you will see anything next year because when we make a reference product like a P30, H30, HD30, Mohican, they are typically designed to last for a long time. And I'm not stupid. I understand that that's more difficult with a DA converter than an analog amp. But there's another thing to play. It's that if you launch a new reference, it needs to be really good, and you need to pull yourself further than you've done in a while. So I doubt that you will see a new HD30 in 2021, but it's obviously something we are looking at.
Okay, Eduardo. Anders, we had the H390. Can you know?
Yep.
Fernando Dretsch made a review for the H390. We sent to him, and then probably in the next issue will be the cover of the magazine. He was really happy and really surprised. He loves Hegel. He used to have the H30. So now we're going to use the H390 here, playing with Wilson Audio. So it's a big challenge, a big speaker. So
Yep.
let's hear how it works.
Troubles were churning, trouble with that dress that's as black as my heart on this train. Troubles were churning, trouble, yeah. With those lips that's as red as the blood in my veins. Trouble, you know it. Trouble, soft target. Troubles were churning, trouble, yeah. 'Cause it's a long way to London Bridge in them heels, baby. Trouble churning. 'Cause it's amazing how much one look can reveal. Yeah. Trouble, you know it. Trouble, soft target. Trouble churning, trouble. 'Cause I've been waiting for just one look. Trouble, you know it. Trouble, soft target.
Thanks, Carlos. Carlos, quais foram as suas primeiras impressões sobre o amplificador, sobre o integrado da Hegel?
Bom, ela é um amplificador muito potente, com certeza, e tem um som orgânico, bem natural, não parece transistor, né? Tem um som natural e esse recurso de integração com stream, DAC, né? Você consegue tudo num sistema só, integrado. É a solução para iniciantes, para quem tem um sistema minimalista, com uma caixa com ótima qualidade, você toca com um equipamento, né, high-end acessível. Né?
Anders?
Yeah.
We'd like to thank you for your time. And
Well, thank you for having me.
we are really happy with all your support. I believe that we had a big case of success with your Hegel brand. I know that worldwide your brand is you sell a lot, but here in Brazil we always had the challenge to promote a little bit more expensive brands because as you know, our currency always creates problems for us. And I really believe that your travels to Brazil, your training sessions, and how that you spread your knowledge very easily helped us to improve our sales skills. Now we had other people join the team. Eduardo is helping us a lot to create these live sessions, and I believe that near future we're gonna try another step, a new challenge. The idea is to have a presentation in the house of one end user guy. So I tell later about our ideas, but I really believe that will be really good. Eduardo, tem algum ponto que você gostaria de perguntar para o Anders?
Acho que a questão de streamer, se para os modelos abaixo do 390, se tem uma previsão também de DACs melhores, como a capacidade desse DAC, porque hoje streamer e música digital é o futuro. Então, se nas linhas abaixo do 390 como 95, se tem uma expectativa de elevar o nível do DAC interno.
Hey, Anders, as you know, we love the H390, the H390. Eduardo is a more high-end enthusiast, and he's wanted to know if Hegel intends to improve the quality of the DACs from the entry-level products like the H95, H120.
The DACs on the entry-level amplifiers is actually what we have improved a lot. With the 120 and the H95, the DA converter was really the big improvement. So I'd say the DA converters in those for being built into to an amplifier of that price range, they're really good. And to make it significantly better, you need to step up to the quality or style of DAC that is in the 390 or 590. But that is a significant investment. And if you want to go further than that again, it's the HT30, which even though it is a few years old, that sort of dropped out of the conversation 10 minutes ago. Even if it's a few years old, there are things in the HT30 DAC that are absolutely phenomenal with the noise floor and the if you want to make a DAC substantially better than what is in these integrated amps we have, you need to make a separate DAC because you need to shield. It's all about noise at that level, noise and really precision control of clocks that is in an HT30 that does not exist, and you cannot do it in the integrated amplifiers.
Anders, we'd like to thank you for your time. I know it's Friday, and then I really appreciate your time. And then I believe that in 10 days we'll have another one. We intend to work with entry-level amplifier probably we're gonna work with the 120 or the
Yeah.
H95. So thanks a lot for your time.
I'm ready. It's Corona, so I'm not going anywhere. So I can do it anytime. So thank you very much for doing this, Edgemar. And hello to Carlos, and hello to Nicolas, and to Eduardo. Have a good night.
Okay. Thank you.
Ander.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Anders. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.